With summer fully in flow, people all around you are talking about their travel plans, and many of them are going to destinations that you've dreamed of visiting yourself, like Santorini, Sicily, Paris, and London. But if you've missed the boat and you're wondering how you can make your dreams a reality so that next summer you don't miss out, then the good news is it's easier than you think. And there's one credit card in particular that's great from getting you from Canada to Europe next summer, all based on regular spending that you're already making every day, and with the right strategy, you can even fly in business class. I'm talking about the Brim Air France World Elite MasterCard, and in this video, I'll share with you how you can maximize this card whilst I personally take a journey from my home in Vancouver to Zurich, Switzerland for a very special purpose. Our bags are already packed, so let's go. So Jesse, why are we going to Switzerland?
We're going to see Taylor Swift at the Eras Tour.
Now, in the interest of full disclosure, today we'll be flying KLM over to Europe, and Air France KLM very generously provided this flight in exchange for an honest review of their credit card product. And with that said, let's head over to the SkyTeam Lounge, which is Air France KLM's dedicated lounge here in Vancouver. We'll talk to you a little bit about how this card can supercharge your travels, especially if you're going to Europe. Love the SkyTeam Lounge here in Vancouver. You've got a really nice noodle bar that you can enjoy before your flight. Now, the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard is the only card in Canada that earns Flying Blue miles with every purchase. As a World Elite MasterCard, its annual fee is $132 with a minimum income requirement of $80,000 personal or $150,000 household. Now, in case you're not familiar with Flying Blue, it's the loyalty program for Air France, KLM, and a host of other airlines, and it's a great option for flying between North America and Europe, whether you're traveling from the East Coast or the West Coast. Now, if you're already a Flying Blue member and you travel with Air France and KLM often, then you'll love having this card because you've got one more way to rack up the Flying Blue miles. Before this card was available, the only way to earn miles was to fly with the airlines or transfer points from a partner program, but now you've got a way to directly earn miles within the program, and that's powerful. More importantly, you'll benefit from the ability to earn recurring experience points, or XPs as it's known within Flying Blue, from holding the card. XPs help you get to Flying Blue Elite status faster. Just by getting approved for the card, you'll get 60 XP right away in the first year, which leaves you with only 40 XP until you reach the Flying Blue Silver level, which is a gap you can close with just one round-trip flight in Premium Economy. Now, on the other hand, if you're new to the Flying Blue program, then this card gets you deeper engaged with the program because you're now a card holder, and you'll have the ability to get XPs that get you closer to Flying Blue Elite status, but more importantly, with every purchase you make, get you closer to your next lie-flat business class flight with either Air France or KLM en route to your European trip. Whether you're going out to eat or shopping at Costco, you'll be able to rely on your everyday purchases on this card to get you closer to your next big trip. And not only that, but there's an extra feature on this card that can help you fly in business class. Stay tuned for that. First of all, let's polish off these noodles, and then we'll talk about the earning rates on this card. So, welcome to the new KLM Boeing 777-300 business class. This is a new product for KLM's 777s. Before, they used to run the relatively old product with 222 seating across, very open, and it lacked direct aisle access as well. So this is a big improvement for KLM coming out of Vancouver. These seats are a lot more private, and there's a door here that can close, and that's what I'm most excited for to try out. Now, without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit about the earning rates on the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard. The strength of this card is definitely earning 5 times the miles on Air France or KLM flights when you book directly with the card, which really supercharges those earnings when you travel with the partner airline. And on top of that, you'll also get 2 miles per dollar spent at restaurants and bars, and 1 mile per dollar spent on everything else. Now, technically, you can also earn up to 30 miles per dollar spent if you shop with one of Brim Financial's select partners when they have these special deals on offer. However, keep in mind that this isn't always going to be the case. It's going to depend on the specific retailer that you shop at, so it's more of a niche benefit than something that applies across the board. Now, we value Flying Blue miles at about 2 Canadian cents per point, so by spending on this card, you're effectively getting 4% return on restaurants and bars and a 2% return on everything else. And as far as a base earning rate on regular purchases go, 2% is pretty strong, because even if you shop at, say, Costco, where it only takes MasterCard, you'll still earn that roughly 2% return, which even the Costco MasterCard itself doesn't give you. Now, it looks like dinner's about to be served on this flight, so I'm excited for that. And before we move on to the next big benefit of this card, keep in mind that if you're interested in applying for the card, you can check out the link in the description box below. And while you're there, give the video a like and subscribe to the Prince of Travel YouTube channel to watch more videos like this in the future. Now, Now we've wrapped up the appetizer and main course, and it's time for the cheese plate. I've got a little bit of black tea on the side as well. For now, I'll share with you a little bit about the next best feature about the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard, and that's the very strong insurance coverage that this card offers. Now, travel is, by its nature, very unpredictable. Now, just to take an example, I was supposed to fly Air France on this trip from Vancouver to Switzerland, but instead the Air France flight got cancelled and I was rebooked on KLM. And whether it's delays or cancellations like that, or getting ill or missing a connection or petty crime, all sorts of unexpected situations can happen to you as a traveler no matter how seasoned you are. And so that's why it's so important to be insured for every trip that you take, whether it's through standalone coverage or insurance that you get as part of a credit card. And the good news is, on the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard, there's some pretty comprehensive insurance to its name. Just by holding the card, you get up to $5 million in emergency medical travel insurance, even if you haven't used the card to actually book your trip. Plus, for any trip costs that you have charged to the card, you'll get trip cancellation insurance and flight delay and baggage insurance. And keep in mind, the trip cancellation insurance applies even if you don't charge the full amount of the trip to your card. Most credit cards out there require you to charge the full amount to the card in order to be covered, but with the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard, you can only charge a portion of it. So let's say the taxes and fees on your award redemption, or something like the deposit for a cruise booking. As long as there's a portion that goes on the card, then the insurance coverage kicks in. And that's super powerful, and it's one of the underrated elements of this card for sure. Okay guys, I've just woken up from about a 3.5-hour nap, which is a pretty solid sleep for these transatlantic flights. It's nice to be able to get a little bit of extra sleep, and that's one of the reasons why I appreciate Air France and KLM's options to the West Coast as well, these direct flights. It's really nice to have that longer flight time to enjoy the process. Now, much like sleeping on a lie flat bed on a transatlantic flight, it's definitely a great experience, but not quite perfect. And the same can be said about the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard, because despite all of the perks that this card offers for dedicated Flying Blue members, there is one caveat, and it's the fact that even though it's a travel card, you still have to pay that 2.5% foreign exchange fees on all of your transactions outside of Canada. Now, the 2.5% foreign transaction fee is pretty standard across most credit cards in Canada, even those that call themselves travel cards. But still, there's still a handful of no FX cards in the market, and so there's no reason for the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard to not follow suit and thus become one of the industry-leading travel cards in the market. After all, none of the other no FX fee cards in the market offer miles as a reward, and so if this card were to compete in that domain, it would definitely offer an edge and would be basically a must-have for any Canadians with European travel aspirations. Now, speaking of which, I've got a light breakfast here, and then we're just about headed to land into Amsterdam, and that's where I'll tell you about the game changer benefit on this card that will really help to transform your travels and fly in business class cabins just like this. Before we get there though, you'll be pleased to know that the application process for this card is pretty simple. Before you apply, make sure you've already signed up for an Air France KLM Flying Blue account, because that's the first thing that the application asks for. And then once you've entered that, you'll be asked to input your usual information, and once that's done, Brim Financial will be in touch for the next steps. Real quick before we land, one of my favorite things about flying KLM in particular is that business class passengers always get a free gift at the end of each flight, and it's one of these distinctive Dutch Delft blue houses that represents real buildings in the Netherlands. So that's pretty cool, and there's about 100 of them. You get one each for every business class flight, so if you were to rack up tons of miles on your Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard and fly KLM business class a whole bunch of times, you might get to collect the whole set. Now that we've landed in Amsterdam, it's time to go for the KLM Crown Lounge for our layover, but first, a much needed coffee. Got my coffee, and since I was able to use my MasterCard, I earned 2 miles per dollar spent on this, which can help towards the next time I fly with Air France or KLM. Alright, we're sitting here at the upstairs of the KLM Crown Lounge in Amsterdam. If you're ever in this lounge, the downstairs is kind of busy, but the upstairs is this nice restaurant-like environment, so it's great to come and sit down for a bit. Now let me tell you about the fun part about the Air France KLM Flying Blue program, because once you've earned miles through the World Elite MasterCard, the really interesting part is when it comes time to redeem. Now, Flying Blue has been busy making moves in North America and rapidly becoming one of the best award programs for flying between North America and Europe. Recently, it even did something that very few loyalty programs ever do, which is reduce pricing on certain markets to ensure that the award pricing is harmonized whether you're flying from the West Coast or the East Coast to a European destination like Paris or Amsterdam or beyond. So no matter what your origin city is in North America, as long as you're flying with Air France or KLM, you'll be able to find pricing for 20,000 miles in economy class, 35,000 miles in premium economy, or 50,000 miles in business class one way. And 50,000 miles is an extremely favorable redemption rate for a transatlantic flight, comparing very nicely to other programs that would charge 70,000 or 80,000 miles one way. So this means that even if you live in somewhere like Vancouver or Edmonton, you'll pay the same price as somebody living in Toronto. And the best part is this pricing includes pretty much any destination in Europe as well. So it doesn't have to be just Paris or Amsterdam. If you're flying onwards to other European destinations, which is pretty widely served by Air France and KLM and their network of partner airlines, then you'll be able to book business class for as low as 50,000 miles, which is a wonderful deal. But that's not all. To sweeten the deal even further, Air France KLM offers what's known as promo rewards on a regularly rotating basis. Every month, on the first of the month, there will be select markets in which economy, premium economy, or business class flights are discounted by 15 to 25%. And so as of late, we've seen promo rewards deals on many Canadian cities for 25% off business class awards, which means you can fly business class one way for as low as 37,500 miles. That makes an already very compelling deal even better, so if you see a promo reward and you've earned your Flying Blue miles, it's time to act and score that transatlantic business class flight for the lowest possible cost. And one of the best features about the KLM Crown Lounge in Amsterdam has to be this super nice outdoor terrace with incredible views of the apron and all the KLM and other planes in the distance. It's on that note that we're going to wrap up today's video. Definitely consider the Air France KLM World Elite MasterCard. It's a very solid new entrant to the Canadian credit card market over the past few years, especially if you're a Flying Blue member or you travel to Europe regularly. If you haven't flown Air France or KLM in the past, definitely give them a go because they've been making significant inroads in Canada with lots of new routes and exciting new products, not to mention the opportunity to redeem for only 50,000 miles in business class or lower with the promo rewards. Plus, with the MasterCard, you get XPs that get you closer to elite status, you get a strong earning rates on food and drinks, 2 miles per dollar spent, and very nice insurance to help you out when you're traveling as well. If you're interested in the card, check out the link in the description below. Applying through the link helps to support the channel and all of the content that we make to empower you to go further better. And I'll leave you with this video that you should watch next. In today's video, we flew KLM business class, but this is Air France's new flagship business class product that you should definitely check out. It's one of the top business class airlines out there these days. And again, you can use your Flying Blue miles to fly this on your way to Europe next time. Check it out, and I'll see you in that video.